Volkswagen ID4 Pro year-long test verdict, from written off to reconsidered. After 16,000 miles and VW's first mass-market EV, we're sad to see it go. Based on 13 months and 16,602 miles driving our year-long 2022 Volkswagen ID4 Pro, I can say, without reservation, that the ID4 is a fundamentally good car. Not just as an electric SUV, but as a solid, reliable, enjoyable, no-frills basic transportation car. Consider it the Southwest Airlines or Birkenstocks of EVs. You need to understand a few things before you set foot on your journey, but otherwise, you'll be fine. And you may even come to recognize the inherent goodness in the ID4. But first, the bad. There's no other way to say it, the software system in the car sucks. If there was a way to rip it out and throw it in the garbage, that would be our recommended course of action. As we've detailed a few times, the graphics are basic, and the user experience is clunky and slow. If you come from any other modern EV, or a 10-year-old Tesla, you will be underwhelmed. Just getting into the car is consistently inconsistent. Some days, we'd be greeted by welcome anonymous guest on the driver infotainment screen rather than by name. Every day, we'd be faced with the same dark and tedious login screen on the center touchscreen. And the voice controls, slow and irritating, from accidentally engaging the voice prompt, "Hello ID," to basic destination input. Oh sure, should you use the navigation, there's the ID4's neat intelligent light display, which sends a comet of light across your dashboard telling you which way to turn or flashing when you need to panic stop, but otherwise it's a system you just never want to use. Thankfully you don't have to, as Apple CarPlay and Android Auto work in the ID4, when you can get them to connect, that is. The seconds to minutes long delays in getting CarPlay fired up were mystifying. Volkswagen, meanwhile, is clearly well aware of the above issues based on our experiences with the coming ID7. Like every Tesla, the ID4 has a get-in-and-go startup function where the smart key and seat sensor recognize the driver has entered and is ready to roll. No key twist or button push required, just a shift into gear. Despite weighing 4,549 pounds, our ID4 always felt unburdened. It's light and ready to go, with great steering feel and an incredibly tight turning radius that we came to appreciate in town. When we got our test car, the $42,525 VW ID4 Pro represented the entry-level offering, made in Germany, with 77 kilowatt-hours of usable battery power, 82 kilowatt-hour gross, 275 miles of range, and a 201 horsepower motor powering the rear wheels. For the 2023 model year, VW extended the low end to include a new base model ID4 standard, with a 62 kilowatt-hour battery and 209 miles of range, built in the US at the company's Chattanooga, Tennessee, plant. It now starts at $40,290. We got along fine with our formerly base model ID4. Sure, it would have been nice to have available accessories like dividers for the huge cargo area, but we didn't miss not having extras like a power liftgate. The gray cloth and plastic interior were Spartan, but at least it proved to be tough. Our ID4 spent its year shuttling a toddler through his second and third years of life and emerged no worse for wear. We strapped at least 3 different rear-facing child seats into the right rear seat, and even with various spills and joys/impatient foot stomping, the gray cloth seating surfaces showed no signs of wear when it came time to turn in our VW. We did, however, somehow break the plastic button on the driver's side floor mat that holds it in place, as well as the tab for the rear seat HVAC vent. We called both out during our one and only service visit, but the dealer didn't address them. About the service appointments, we only required one service stop at 10,000 miles, and it was no big deal, as you can read in a previous update. The only recall we saw for this vehicle, requiring the application of a protective coating to the rear hatch joints, was addressed at that time. All of this was covered under VW's Carefree Maintenance Program, which covers 2 years or 20,000 miles, whichever comes first. This free service plan is demonstrably better than what we had to pay for our time with similarly sized gas-powered crossovers we've had recently, including a 2023 Mazda CX-50 that needed 2 service visits and 19,000 miles for a total of $176.08, a 2021 Nissan Rogue, 2 visits and 12,000 miles for a total of $139.23, and a 2021 Kia Sorento, 2 visits and 23,000 miles for a total of $354.18. As we use the ID4 for daily commuting between home, daycare, and work, we charge it almost exclusively at home. The ease and cost of home charging, once you get the right charger installed, supports the inevitability of EVs, at least for those actually able to charge where they live. Even with an overly conservative estimate of cost per kilowatt-hour, driving our ID4 cost is an average of 9 cents a mile. This low cost was driven home as we drove and charged during a record surge in gas prices in the LA area last year. During the 13 months of our loan, we charged 134 times at the Low Home and various third-party charging stations, primarily EVgo and Electrify America. Charging an average of 10 times a month sounds high, but in practice, it was the road trips that skewed those numbers. During a 6-hour, 300-mile trip, you might charge 2 or 3 times in one day and repeat these charging sessions on the way back. For daily use, comprising short trips from home to work, daycare, or shopping, the Low Fam could easily go a week to 10 days without needing to charge. In total, our ID4 Pro required 4,515 kilowatt-hours to travel 16,898 miles. This comes out an average 3.6 miles per kilowatt-hour, which is on par with what we've seen from VW ID4 forums and from the SUV's own driver's display. In comparison, our similarly sized, long-term, dual-motor, all-wheel drive Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5 are averaging 2.9 miles/kWh and 3.3 miles/kWh respectively, just a hair under our rear-wheel drive single-motor Volkswagen. Flying Southwest Airlines for the first time? Best to understand its no assigned seats policy before you board. Breaking in your first pair of Birkenstocks? Consider trimming your toenails and moisturizing those ashy heels before putting those piggies out in public. And if you're considering a VW ID4 as your first dip into EV waters, congrats and good for you. We think you'll find it an approachable, accessible, and increasingly affordable EV that's fun to drive and great as a city runabout. Just make sure to plan road trip charging stops in advance, keep your speeds reasonable, and adopt CarPlay or Android Auto as your infotainment system of choice. Once you get these basics out of the way, life is pretty good in the ID4.